Greetings, everyone. Your cartoonist pal Stan here with a shortened episode of 50 Years in the Dungeon. It's a show I'm doing to celebrate the fact that 2024 is the 50th anniversary of the game Dungeons and Dragons and the hobby of role-playing games, tabletop role-playing games. Usually, each week, I have a guest that I interview, and while I interview them, I start drawing a cartoon homage to a classic piece of D&D art. This week, my guest was supposed to be Gwendolyn F.M. Kestrel. She had something come up in the middle of the day, gave me a call, and today has been a crazy day here in the U.S. It's the day after Election Day, and it just seemed to me that trying to find someone last minute on a day like today was not the way to go. So, Gwen and I already talked. Let's say these things happen, and she's going to be ready next week, and so we'll have her on next week. In the meanwhile, tonight, all you got is me. It's just me. Hello to Raven Lauren. Hello to Michael Pastor and Casey Butt. Michael asks, am I on Twitch tonight? I don't know. I had to reschedule things quickly when I was switching things out. And I know I didn't send it out to LinkedIn. Usually I go to LinkedIn. I might not have sent it out to Twitch. I'll only know in hindsight, because right now I'm in the middle of doing it. So here we are. I know I'm going out to YouTube. I know I'm going out to Facebook. I might be going out to Twitch. Maybe. We'll see. I am here. Wherever I am, no matter where you all go, no matter, as Buckaroo Banzai said, no matter where you go, there you are. So that's true for me. No matter where I am, that's where I'm at. Apparently, I'm just not as clever as Buckaroo. Anyway, so I figured I would come on anyway, despite the fact that there's no interview, and I'm not going to go and do drawing where I'm just don't have anyone to talk to. Although that does make it a fun live stream sometimes. I don't think that it really suits this show, and I'll just put off what I was going to draw this week to next week, and I'll do it with Gwen then. Here we go. Michael in chat. Yes, I am. I am on Twitch. The answer is yes, I am. How about that? So I figured I could come on here. I've got a few things that I can do news-wise to talk about where things are at for the show, and then I could just throw it open to a general interact with the audience. AMA, ask me anything kind of thing. If you want to ask me things about stuff we talked about in previous episodes that didn't get covered, maybe questions that popped up, you can throw those out. If you just have general gaming or cartooning questions that you have, you can throw those out. And if there's really not a lot to talk about, we'll wrap up early, because we've all got other things to do with our lives. So here we go. Boom. Things I had to talk about. Well, I guess one of them with this hiccup in the schedule. I pulled up the my actual schedule. I've got a spreadsheet where I'm doing the schedule for this. It's as to say, the goal for this show was to do 50 cartoon homages, one for each year of the history of D&D. So we're going along. I've done everything through 2010. So I've done all the years from 1974 to 2010, which means I've got 14 or 15, depending on how you look at it. By the time we wrap up, we're going to be in 2025, so it'll actually be 51 years. So I was figuring to go through 2025 and wrap up with, I think, the monster manual for the new 2024 edition of the game will be out. will be released in 2025. So that'll be it. I've got 15 more shows to go, and I have them lined up. I have most of the art that I'm going to be drawing figured out. There are still 4 of those 15 years I haven't figured out yet, but I'm working on it. As I said, I've got Gwen Kestrel scheduled for my guest next week. I have Ed Greenwood is going to be a guest. Actually, I recorded the interview with Ed, and that's going to be released in a couple of weeks. The week of Thanksgiving here in the U.S. That's November 27th is the date for that show. That'll be Ed Greenwood. And other than that, I don't have firm commitments yet for people going in. I'll tell you, people that I'm talking to right now include Colin McComb and Ray Winninger. And who else have I talked to recently? Mike Merles, and a couple of people who are on the current team, who I will kind of save their names for later. But yeah, going to get a couple of people on the current team. And I've got a list of other people here. So we've got 15 going. I've got about 5 people that I'm talking to actively. That means 10 more people will go on this list. And that will make 50. And that's just crazy to me. We're almost there. Let me see. Ooh, pull over here. I pulled up my spreadsheet so I couldn't see what was going on in the chat. So all going good. So I'm looking here. Questions how are things going with the Kickstarters? One of them that Michael asks. Question: what movie franchise would I like to see a source book, and for what system? Asks Casey. Well, that's for sure going to be an interesting question. 51 goal. Yeah, 51. So 51 is my goal for this. But then, as I've said on multiple shows, I'm going to keep going. I may change the name of the show, or I may just roll with it. 50 Years in the Dungeon doesn't have to be. I came up with that title because of the 50-year thing. But it's kind of a good podcast, live show name. So I'm leaning towards just keeping it. But we'll see. Dale Donovan, how's it going? Chris Andrew, welcome to you too. Let's see. I see Michael says, it was a great interview and the con story was wonderful. Which interview are you talking about? I gotta scan back and see if I can't. I don't know which interview you're talking about. We talked about a lot of cons. So let's see. First question that came up was from Michael Pastor about how things are going with the Kickstarters. Things are going well. I still have my one prototype here for the wall calendar. I also have a prototype of the desk calendar. Ooh, don't drop that. And things are going good. The way Kickstarters work is they closed up. We met our goals. We exceeded our goals, actually. And the Kickstarter takes up to 2 weeks to process the payments before it sends them out. So we are now just past 1 week beyond the end of the Kickstarter. So we got. It's possible they may send the money later this week, but it may not be for another week. Then once that money arrives, I can and it gets sent to me. This is a multi-step process, and and you know how banks like to take an extra day or two here or there. But I'm figuring sometime around the end of next week, I will have the money in my account, and at that point, I can send money to the printer to print. I'll have. What's the other thing I want to say? Oh, we sent out. We should be sending out the questionnaires, the surveys for the Kickstarter. If it didn't go out today, it should go out tomorrow. Certainly going out in the next day or two. So if you back the Kickstarter, keep your eyes open for the survey so that you can fill it out. I'd like to get all that done so that when I put the print order in, as I say, that should, just look at my calendar here. So if we do it in round numbers, say that the survey will go out this week, and by the 15th, I will have the money and I can send that out to the printers. So then the printers probably will get it back to me given. Well, the reason I need the surveys done is that will tell me exactly how many I need, and I can then order a few more. I don't want to order too many. The problem with calendars, or the challenge with calendars, is that they after December or early January, they don't sell at all anymore. So you don't want to print too many more than you need. So I'm going to get the surveys done, and then that will tell me how many that I should print, and then around about the 15th or before, I can tell the printer to what the order is. I can pay them, get the wheels turning, and hopefully by the end of the month, by Thanksgiving, if I'm lucky, the Monday after Thanksgiving, if I'm not lucky, or early that week, I should get the calendars in. And then I can, in the meanwhile, I will be arranging to have everything I need to do the shipping out and printing out mailing labels and all that. So hopefully, knock on wood, when the calendars arrive, I will be all set to take them out of the box and put them into shipping containers and get them sent out in the first week or 10 days of December. And then, since they will be going out first class mail, they should arrive for most people. Anyone that ordered within the U.S., again, if these dates are correct, should be getting their calendars significantly before Christmas, before the holiday, the end of year holiday gift giving season gets into full swing. There's still plenty of room for something to go awry, for there to be hiccups, but that looks like a very reasonable schedule at this point. That's one of the reasons why I did print up those prototypes, is I know now that the printer can do it, how long they take to do it, because if you, let me tell you a little secret, if you're working with a printer and you order just one copy, you are their least important customer. So I figure that however long that took, when I'm put in an order of 100 or more copies, it will be that quick or quicker. So that's where I'm planning all these details on. So yes, that's how the Kickstarter is going right now. I had hoped to do another Kickstarter before the end of the year, particularly with another holiday-themed one, but with how the timing has worked out on all this, we're now crashing far too close to the holidays for me to do that. What that would have been a set of holiday cards. Every year I do a holiday card, a Christmas card. Usually they're either generically holiday or New Year's cards. But I print those out and I send them to my friends and family, and people who back my Patreon at a certain level and above also will get a physical holiday card sent to them. People who back at lower levels get an electronic version of the same card. Just thinking, hold on a second, I'm going to turn around here. Hold on. If I reach over here, I can pull out. Here we go. This was last year's card. It was a New Year's card for the Year of the Dragon. And see, it's got Happy Holidays, May Your New Year Be Legendary. It has a piece of art by me. Each year I do a new piece of art and I make a new card. And I've been doing this for a while. And I've got at least some of them are, like this one, is very year specific. Can't really send this out in future years because it's a 2024 card. Others are much more generic or more appropriate for every year. And so I was going to put together a fundraising, a crowdfunding plan to sell a bundle of 5 different cards that I have made. And because I've got they've all been printed before. Again, all I need is the money to tell the printer make these. But now, as deep as we are into the year, by the time I did the fundraising and got the money and told the printer to print them, people would not be getting them until sometime in January at the earliest. Just the way it's going to go. So I've now put that officially on hold for next year. There's a crowdfunder to look for next year. In the meanwhile, I may do another one because I also do birthday cards. I make a new birthday card almost every year that I usually don't make physical cards of them, but that's what I send to people electronically. You know, on everyone's birthday, people like to send around a meme. You'll very often get a birthday meme photo of this. Well, I have one which is my cartoon. Like it's a meme, but it's a personalized meme. You're only getting it from me. And so I've got, again, 5 or 10 different designs of birthday cards. So I will probably do a crowdfunding project for a collection of birthday cards sometime next year. I was going to say sometime early next year, but it might not be early. We'll see. But I like a lot of those things. You know what? Let me see what happens here. I know you can't see this right now. I'm going to my iPad Pro, which I use when I'm drawing here. And I'm going in here for my e-card section. So if I come over here, I can show you. Yeah, so these are a bunch of the cards that I've done. Let's see. So during COVID year, I had the birthday with the mask. Go celebrate safely, and I also had these were both for 2020. I did these. Like, I will send this as a JPEG to people on their birthdays. If you follow my Facebook feed, you'll see that every day. Anyone that's listed as being it's their birthday, I will, most days of the year, I will have the time and energy to send that out. I believe in celebrating people's birthdays. So, there you go. Casey says, my birthday is tomorrow. Happy birthday, Casey. I will send you, if I've got your connection somewhere, I will send you a birthday JPEG. So let's see, what else have we got. Oh, this is this year's. Maybe you shouldn't look, Casey, because this is what I'll send to you. This year's is the Kobold birthday pit trap. And that's my friend John Ratliff. It was Hobbit Day, so I made a Hobbit Day card. That's my Year of the Dragon thing. Oh, so this is what the e-card that I send around to people on my Patreon, and I will usually post to my social media. I'll take the design for the card and I'll handwrite my signature onto it. There's that. What else have we got? This is a 2020 holiday card, which I can't use again. This is only good for 2020. The ones with the hand washing and the masking, potentially you could send in other years. But this one about how terrible 2020 is, that's done. In fact, I've got about 20 of those left over in a box, and I somehow am going to have to get rid of them because they have no use anymore. Oh yeah, and this was the inside of that card. Good card, I thought. Anyway, what else have we got here? Oh, so here, yes, and this is what I send around to folks on my electronic distribution list. I did the hedgehog. I've got a bunch of hedgehog stuff. A friend of mine's son was very into hedgehogs for a while, so for them, I did a bunch of hedgehog related items. Also, I personally have a hedgehog humor thing which goes back to my own childhood, but we're not talking about that right now. There was the Year of the Tiger thing. Oh, here's another one, another holiday card, which probably would get into my list of things I would put in the holiday Kickstarter. Um, there's what I put to the electronic delivery. This was a sketch page. Oh yes, so you see there, the year before was the Manatee of Merriment. I really like the the little mopey Manatee of Merriment. I see him and I totally picture him talking like in a droopy dog voice, like, "Unfortunately, you can't light the candles underwater. I'm the Manatee of Merriment. We're having fun." Maybe I should do voiceovers. Anyway, oh yeah, here's another one. That's actually a gag that I've used twice. I think I used this about 15 years earlier in a black and white version, and I redrew it that year for the holidays. So there you go. That's what my holiday card things are like. And as I say, I plan to next year do a fundraiser to sell a bundle of those. You would buy one and you'd get one of each of whatever's in the bundle. So let me see. I see we've scrolled a bit here. Um, Casey, I'm going to come back to your movie question because that is interesting, and I want to talk about it. But no, let's see what else is going here. Um, with Ed, the one with Owen Casey Stevens. I've drawn a lot of Owen. So Michael asked about Kickstarters plural. The other one that's out there is we did a book of a collection of my Damn It Owen cartoons that funded, and right now Owen and his wife LJ, the folks at Rogue Genius Games are handling the delivery of that, and we're waiting on the proof prints from the printer so that we can approve them, and then it goes. So the book's all done. I think they were just posting this week that they'd seen one proof that had problems, so it had to get sent back, and they also found some typos, so they're fixing those. So it's right on the verge of being ready to be delivered, and I can't wait to. I haven't seen a copy of it. I'm supposed to get a copy too for approval, so I'm very much looking forward to getting my copy of the Damn It Owen cartoons. Hello, Penny. If I didn't say so earlier, glad you could make it. Let me just scroll here. Oh, Case says he pledged for the book. Well, yes. So the book, like I say, is coming along. It's done. The way it works is we need to approve. We need to order. We're using drive-through RPG and drive-through books for fulfillment on this. Hello, Becky. And they're going to both deliver the PDF and do the print. Those books are all print on demand, so they're doing that. But the way that process works is we have to order one and get a physical copy and approve it so that we like what the quality of what they're doing before they will let us deliver it to customers. So we're waiting. We're in the midst of that process right now. All right. So the question Casey asked earlier was, what movie franchise would I like to see a source book for, and what system would I use? It's an interesting question. Um, that's an interesting question because there's so many. um, so this is maybe a weird answer. The first thing that pops into my head is Flash Gordon. Um, and one of the reasons it pops into my head is that there is currently an ongoing Flash Gordon daily newspaper strip. Since most of you out there, I think, probably don't get the daily newspapers, and it's not in every newspaper. I bet a lot of you don't know that. But those of you who do know how awesome it is. And that strip basically is using the 1980s Flash Gordon movie as the kickoff for what happens in the strip. So I'm very, very much in the world of Flash Gordon. This strip started about a year ago. I believe it started in October of last year. So it's only been going a year. It's been a really great serialized story, full of all the best kind of Flash Gordon stuff. So I would love to see a good adaptation of that. I would want to see it be something relatively rules light. I love playing D&D. I love playing Pathfinder. I love playing other big games, but my heart belongs to smaller games, indie games. In point of fact, here's something I've only told close friends. So come on in. You can join the circle. Well, this part is not a secret. I like small indie games. I like rules, often called rules light games. I like things that are trim and quick to use, and maybe aren't as robust as a big honking player's handbook style full 20th level, 20 level development game. I love those too. I loved working on D&D. I loved working on D20 Modern in the day. But I much prefer. I'm really enjoying playing Shadow Dark, these days, and other games like that. And I have a. So here's the secret part. Shh. I over the years have tinkered with various ideas for similar things. I've designed some. I've designed a bunch of games like that have been published. But over the years, I've been trying to come up with one that I designed them for other people. I've never really published one of my own. And I've had various mechanics and ideas for how to do things that have come and gone. I have one now which has stuck around and really been kind of making my brain happy for the better part of a year. And I've made little notes on it, and I've it's not that much to it, right? But I've given thoughts to how would I do this, how would I do that, and I've made notes. And I'm convinced that it works. What I'm not sure about yet is whether or not it's fun. I've got to do some playtesting to find that out. And I've got it on my to-do list. I was hoping to have it done here in this calendar year, but at this point, it's seeming less and less likely. So one of my New Year's goals is going to be to put this through the playtest, and if it works the way I think it does, publish this game. It doesn't have a name. In fact, the closest thing it has to a name is I call it the demo engine, because the real inspiration for it is the demos that we would do at Gen Con, particularly for TSR, but Also, we did the same thing at West End Games. We would have a 1 hour thing that you could come up to the booth and we'd run you through the demo. Everyone loved those, and I always they were trimmed down versions of the game. They weren't the full on D&D. You got handed a character which had enough information to play it, but not everything you would have on a full on character sheet. And I always thought one of the beautiful things about this is a game that's designed to be played in about an hour and a half, and that's the presumed style of play. And so that's the kind of game I've been working on, a game that could play like that. It would be easy to pick up, easy to go. You jump in, you play it, and you don't have to worry about having your big rule books with you. You don't have to worry about a lot of different side cases, but yet it still has a good feeling where your characters don't feel generic. So yeah, my broad title for these games as I work on them is demo the RPG. And so as this one has come together, I've started calling it the demo system. I don't think that's what my final title for it will be, but it could be. Let's see. Dale says Ultraman. Going back to what movie? Ultraman. I tell you what. There have been three times when I have been various levels of approached to whether I was interested in and available to work on an Ultraman game, and 2 of the 3 have been role-playing games. None of them have happened. None of them have come to pass. I work, for those of you who don't know, one of the big things I do as a freelancer is I do localization, which is I write the English language script for manga that are published by Viz Media. And let me see. Did I reach down here? Do I have an Ultraman? I don't have an Ultraman. Ultraman is one of the titles I've worked on for the last 5 or 6 years. Sadly, their scheduling is such that they can no longer use outside freelancers like me to work on it. So my time working on Ultraman is finished. I believe that, let me look over here at my, I'm going to stand up here. Somewhere around volume 20 or 21, I'm not sure which ones have come out, will be the last one. But I've done all of the previous issues. So if you find the Ultraman manga published by Viz, look in the credits. There's my name. It'll be there. And Ultraman would be really cool. Ultraman's tough. Here's why Ultraman's tough. It's got a lot of different iterations. Particularly in the last few years, there have been 3 or 4 new iterations of Ultraman, and the question is, which one would you base it on? And how true would it have? Is this kind of an Uber Ultraman, and you can decide how you want to do it, or is it set in this storyline? Those kind of questions. But in any case, I'd love that. Godzilla. Oh my God, I would love to do a Godzilla project. Love to do a Godzilla project. Sadly, it doesn't seem like that's happening anytime soon. Yeah, I'm big Godzilla fan. Big Godzilla fan. Of course, I did make a kaiju-related game, kind of, called Gingerbread Kaiju. Coming up to the proper season for that. It's available also through Rogue Genius Games if you go to their website and their drive-through site. It's a board game where you're playing kaiju made of gingerbread. and it's a game where you eat your opponent's pieces. So it's a good. You first of all you bake up gingerbread kaiju, and those are your figures that you move around the board, and then there's little pieces of candy or other things represent tanks or people or other important things that are on the board, and as your kaiju crushes them, you get to eat them. And when the two kaiju fight, instead of doing damage, you get to eat part of your opponent. It's a crazy game. And that also, to say it, that also almost got published physically a couple of years back. I was approached by a company that a friend of mine was working at. He was in charge of putting together new stuff, and they thought that this would be a really good kind of point of purchase impulse buy game if they could put it in like a little kaiju shaped cookie tin and sell the game in there, and it would come with cookie cutters and the rules for playing the game. And we worked on that. We got it kind of through the process part way, and then their production team came back and told them that they couldn't get the price of making the tins low enough to make it viable. They needed to have it be a $20 or lower for it to be an impulse buy product, and they couldn't get the tins. They weren't going to sell enough to get the price on the tins down to the point where the cost of the game would be low enough. And if they couldn't have the tins, they didn't think it was that. They thought that just kind of, it was a package deal, right? We can do the cookie tin with the cookie cutters and $20 point of purchase. And when that form factor became impossible, they said, well, I guess we can't do it. So we ended the contract, and the game didn't get made. Very sad. Would I ever make a board game as an intro to RPGs? Since I love the one that's in the coloring book. Yes. And I can say no more because of an NDA, of a non-disclosure agreement. So I cannot say that something like that is going to happen. But I can say that it falls under the broad umbrella of something that I'm talking about with a publisher. Beyond that, I would love to do something like that. The challenge, as always, the challenge is time and money. And I wouldn't want to do something like Kickstarter or any kind of crowdfunding until I had a finished or close to finished product. And I can't. It takes time to produce a product like that, and so that's been on my list of, sometime when I've got a lot of free time, I'll start working on this. So I've thought a lot about it, which is always a good start. That makes it easier to do when the time comes. But as I say, I can say no more about specifically, but I can say that it's such a similar thing is under discussion as a potential product. Stranger Things, the RPG, the board game. I don't know. Did you know, Casey, that I couple of years back, well, 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, when Hasbro made the Stranger Things D&D intro set, I did the design for I wrote the adventure that went in there, and I was on the team that did that product. Woohoo! Chris said they couldn't make the tins out of plastic. Yeah, no, they really, having that be a tin was a big part of what they thought made it a saleable item. So you have great contacts, including Peter Atkinson. You could take it. Well, you know what? There's a thin line when you have good contacts like that. You are very careful about how much you abuse them. To you, and it's not necessarily as bad as abuse often sounds. But I have approached different people I know with projects and said, "Hey, we should do this." And if they're interested, we talk about it. And if for whatever reason they don't have the time, they've got too many other things going on, they don't have the budget, I've got an idea and I'm saying, "Hey, you're my friend with a lot of money, give me money." That's a rude thing to do. But I have soft pitched that coloring book idea to 10 different people who have companies. And most often the response I get is, "Yeah, that sounds really cool. You should do that someday." As opposed to, "Wow, we should do that together." Or, can we do, do you want to do that with us? And again, part of having friends, if you want to keep them friends, is when you need to let them lead that dance. You come up and say, "Hey, here's the thing. I don't know. If you're interested, let's talk about it." And if they don't want to take you up on that, you let it drop because they're your friend. They're not your checkbook. So yes, certainly Peter Atkinson and I have talked about doing some stuff with my Thursday night show, my Random Encounter show, and Gen Con TV. We talked about it actually when he was a guest on this show. That came up and we talked about it. And we have talked since. We most recently talked at Gamehole Con a couple of weeks ago in Madison, and it's something that is still under discussion. The possibilities are being explored, but as with all things in business, these things sometimes take time. Michael says, "You should do that someday." Is the RPG industry rejection letter? I mean, it's the polite way of saying, that sounds good, but not for me. Yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of friends with either companies or who have expressed interest in maybe doing projects. Trying to publish a project someday. And it's important that you find the right fit and you not force it. And it's got to be the right person at the right time, or someone's going to wind up unhappy, or the project's not going to work out, or the last thing you want to do is have it ruin a friendship. That would be terrible. So, yeah, like I say, the coloring book question is one that when either what we're discussing turns into something that I can talk about publicly, or what we're talking about falls apart completely and then I'm free to talk about what didn't happen, I'll tell you about it. But for right now, that's the only answer I've got for you. I would love to do other things. I often talk about the fact that I was the lead designer on a Pokemon Junior role-playing game, which I still think was a great product. I would have loved it if the Pokemon Company had wanted to do more of those. And I've often thought that basic concept could be applied to other things, but it requires having a license, and it's the kind of thing that you need to go to press. It's not going to sell as a PDF. So while I've thought about it, I haven't really done anything about those. I suppose I could at some point. My challenge as a full-time freelancer is that I need to make sure the projects I'm working on um, have paychecks of some sort attached to them. Uh, Not only, I mean, I certainly do things for fun for myself. This show not making me any money really. Uh, there's going to be a Kickstarter for the book collecting the art when we're done. There certainly was the Kickstarter for the calendar, which is, yeah, I guess so. It's not true. This show is making me a little bit of money, um, but yeah, it's you have to. There's only so much time and space, and in this stupid capitalist world, you got to make sure you're you're covering your bases. And all of these projects that have potential to make money are you can a freelancer like me can only afford to do so many of those in a given year, and there are because of the way our creative minds think, there are always lots of them floating around. um, see, Casey says, funny story about the Stranger Things D&D set. I was at Barnes & Noble, and a mom and daughter were thinking about Stranger Things and D&D, and I tried to recommend the box. Mom said she wanted the real game. Oh, that's a shame. It was the real game. It was made by us. It was. I was working on staff at. I was a contractor at Wizards. That was my last time I was a contractor on staff there. And it was sold by Hasbro. Well, it was made by the D&D team. Oh well, that mom. If only she knew. Chris says seem to be so many talented individuals left over from WotC days. I'd love to see many of you team up and form an impactful game company. So some have. When I first got laid off from WotC, the very first thing we did was form a company. J.D. Weicker and Rich Redman and Mark Schmaltz and I formed a company called The Game Mechanics, and we put stuff out mostly for some stuff for D&D under the OGL, and some stuff for D20 Modern under the OGL. We had a publishing deal with Green Ronin. Green Ronin published 2 of our products, 2 or 3 of our products. I don't remember. I think it was just 2. So that worked until it kind of didn't. The market dried up, and we all had offers for paying work, and so the game mechanics kind of fizzled. And of course, Rogue Genius is me and Owen and a bunch of other folks doing freelancey work. Monty Cook Games, the principals there, many of the principals there are former Wizards, folks. There's people who've left Paizo and started it. I tell you, one of the things I talk about whenever I'm on a panel about so you want to start a game company or running an independent game company, is that the thing about doing that is it's a business. If you want to be successful, you've got to treat the business like a business. You need someone who is going to be the business person. And so many of the creative folks from Wizards, everyone wants to do the fun part. No one. If I've got to spend all my time running a business, then I'm not designing games, right? And in fact, I'm handing. I talked to Wolfgang Bauer, who runs Kobold Press, another former designer and editor, had him on the show a few weeks ago. And he, when we talk about, he often, and he doesn't bemoan it because he's got a company. He's very proud of what they're doing, but sometimes it's kind of sad. It's kind of he sometimes it gets to him that he's got a great idea, and that means he's got to hand it off to someone else. He doesn't get to do it. He's got to hand it off to someone else to do. And then it comes back, and it's not what he would have done. It's not what he had an idea. I want to do this thing, and there isn't time because he's running the company, and that's why they're a successful company, because he does do that. There's another company I've been doing a lot of projects with Cobalt over the last 6 months. I've been doing a lot of work with and for them, for things that have not been announced yet. Mm-hmm. And I'm very, very excited about a couple of things in particular, which I think are going to get announced in the new year sometime. And there's one project I'm working on, or I've been working on, I have worked on, it's around somewhere, that's not a for sale project. It's a thing. Wow, that's very informative. It's a thing, and you keep your eye on Cobalt before the end of the year. You will see one or more things with my recognizable art involved in it, and I will say no more than that. I have recently been I backed a Kickstarter, and I recently have been watching a bunch of videos by, I'm trying to look this guy's name up because I never remember what it is. Oh no, it's been too long still, but I can't do it that way. But if I go down here somewhere, oh, isn't this is good TV, huh? Oh, I know, I didn't do that. I did this. Are you fascinated by me looking into a thing you can't see? All right, yeah, no, this guy's name is J.P. Coovert, Coovert. He's got a Patreon, and he does a lot of zines. He does a lot of game zines. And I'm totally fascinated with the things he's doing and the videos that he's put out. I've watched a whole bunch of them over the last couple of months, and I'm super intrigued at the idea of doing stuff in the realm of the kinds of things he's doing. He just finished a Kickstarter for a book that collects a bunch of them. It's called Dragon Town and the Darkness Below. The qualitatively, like the style of stuff that he's inspired by and produces, pretty good mesh with me and my style. Not like we could be confused for each other, but we're in the same realm. And certainly someone like me that lives mostly in the humorous and cartoony realm, sometimes it's a bit of a challenge to find places in the hobby game field that are open to that. And I'm looking at what JP is doing, and I'm saying, wow, I would love to be doing stuff like that. And so I'm now reading more of his stuff and still exploring the things he's done, and giving serious thought to how I can make that work for me And so maybe best to think about that as a potential New Year project at this point. So yes, there you go. Chris Sanders says, I had a great business idea. RPG players become infatuated with their characters and game sessions. If someone drew animations of those characters in gameplay, that would be very popular. Well, yes, you are right. Um, here's the challenge to that kind of thing is the time it takes to do that kind of thing, and the just flat out the if you break it down to hourly, how much time it takes to do that kind of thing, and what someone with those skills, so like me, I'm not good at animation. Animation is not in my wheelhouse. But even just doing illustrations of the characters and what happened in the game, um, you know, in order to make a living, I have to charge a significant amount per hour, and that's just outside of the budget of uh, most hobby gamers to just get done, like to throw away on a lark. Um, so yeah, if you find the right people with enough mad money, as you say, or deep enough pockets, then that's great. And I tell you, artists for centuries have looked to find patrons who meet those descriptions. People who've got the money who want to sponsor them to draw the things that they want drawn, so you draw it for them. So yes, I think it's a great idea. It's more expensive than most people think about. Um, Here's another thing I'm going to show you that I've actually never shown anyone outside of my personal sphere. So aren't you guys glad you showed up today? Here we go. Let me find the right page for this. I will tell you that this is based on um, my. I'm currently playing in a Shadow Dark game with friends of mine. If I start naming my friends, it's going to sound like I'm name dropping. It's what most game fans would consider an all-star game, but we just get together because it's fun. We play it. We play it for fun. It's not recorded. We do it all online. None of it's recorded. Never really will be. But here, if I open this project here, I can show you. I'm going to show you while we're gaming. It's always been true that while I game, I draw and doodle. When I'm at a gaming table, I've got a notebook and I'm always doing stuff. So this is me drawing the map of what's going on. But this file, because it's an electronic file, I just have many, many different layers. And some of these, you can see where it says adventure. That is where I'm doing cartoons of what happens in the game. So we got here. The game started off where we had the assignment was to go. A special guitar had been stolen, so we're going to go get it back. So while I'm playing, we went to a door, knocked on it, and these little goblin level eyes popped out and said, "Who are you? Who's there?" And our halfling just rammed his. It wasn't his sword. In the picture, it's a sword. I believe it was a spear. Just rammed his spear straight through it. This is what we're doing. Let us in. So I have here little cartoons of everything that's going on in the game. You can see, I know I'm So that's just one page. Here's some more recent ones. So this one, my half orc didn't roll a strong enough, a good enough strength check to open the doors, and he's like, "Oh, I don't know what we're gonna do." And then our halfling rolled a 20, and so door popped open, and so I drew that as a cartoon. Yes, so all of these are little cartoon memories of what's going on in the game. And I suppose that I could, again, if I found a patron of the gaming arts who was so inclined, I could rent out myself by the hour to watch your game and draw those kinds of doodles of what's going on. But you'd have to pay my relatively exorbitant price. It's not exorbitant, but my relatively high price, because that's what an hour of my creative time is worth. So, yes. There you go. But now you guys are the first ones to see any of the cartoons from our Shadow Dark game. Don't tell others, they'll be jealous. Or do tell others that they should come to the show, because this is the kind of stuff you get. All right. So I also could publish those. Well, so I would need to get permission from the other people involved to do that. I'm sure they might be interested, but I'm also not sure how. As something that I can show you and tell you about, those are great. As something you could pick up and buy as a standalone product without me involved to give it context, I'm not convinced that that's a good seller. I could be wrong, but maybe one of these days I'll test it. But again, because there are other people involved, I would need to get their permission to do that, and possibly they'd want a cut of the profit, and fair enough. See, Michael asks, what was my first job at Wizards? Yeah, I always do ask. So my first job at Wizards was as an editor. I had been working at at West End Games as a graphic designer. I'm not sure whether I've told that story, but I finished second in the job hunt for 3 previous editorial positions. I was the leading candidate, and then someone else kind of edged me out. And all of those people are friends of mine, and I think that all of them are great. I have no problem. It was frustrating, but I couldn't look at it and say, well, how could they pick that person over me? It's like, all right, well, it's at least a toss up. And in a couple of the cases, it was like, no, that other person was a real find. You needed to grab that person. But West End had said to me that because I had some art skill and I had been running and publishing, doing all the layout for a newsletter for a couple of years, that I had all the skills to get me hired into the graphics department. And then from there, I could transfer into an editorial position the next time one opened up. So West End hired me as a graphic designer, and that's what I was doing there. In the meantime, there were some job openings at TSR, and I interviewed for and eventually got one of them. The longer version of this story tells that the details of that. So eventually I got it, and I was hired as an editor, working on Ravenloft and Dark Sun. I was supposed to be the main editor for Dark Sun. this is the edition, the box set that had the cloth map in it edition, late second edition D&D. But the team that I was on also was doing the Dragonlance 5th edition game, the card-based, the Saga rules, Saga system rules, and I loved that, and I had some experience working on products like that, games like that, and the designers of the game itself were Skip Williams and William W. Connors. But they were not sticking with the Dragonlance team. They were going on to other projects. And so I was able to segue my way into being a designer and the lead designer for the Dragonlance 5th Age product line after beginning with the 3rd or 4th product in the series. So I'd done editing. I'd edited 3 Ravenloft adventures. The Death Ascendant series, the Grim Harvest series. There's a Ravenloft trilogy called Grim Harvest. I was the editor on that series. And after that, I segued over to being the designer for Dragonlance 5th edition, or 5th Age. So there you go. That's where I started, and in that whole that took us through the right up to the Wizards buyout, or the TSR layoffs and the 6 months of oh my god, what's going to happen, and then the Wizards buyout and the move to Seattle. But all of my time in Wisconsin, or most of my time in Wisconsin, I was an editor, and for the last few months, I was a game designer. So there you go. Any other questions? I say I'm posing this as an Ask Me Anything. You can ask me anything, but we're over an hour now, which I really didn't think we were going to get to. And if we're running out, then that's all right. I can wrap us up, and we'll be back again next week. I'll tell you more about that when I officially make it an outro. But this is your chance, because we've still got 7 or 8, no, maybe 10 people. It's flickering around the number of people who are watching. So if you have any questions, now is the time to pose them. Otherwise, we'll go into the outro. All right. Seeing none, I'm going to say thank you, everyone. Thank you. How smart is Owen? He's very smart. What do I like to read? Well, I read a lot of comics. I read a lot of books about comics and making of comics, and I like to reread some of the best of those. I reread Scott McCloud's books on understanding and understanding comics, and what was it? They did 3 of them. I don't remember what the 3rd one was, but so I read those every year just to keep that kind of fresh in my head. I like reading mystery novels. I like detective and mystery fiction. A friend of mine just bought me some that I hadn't heard of. Well, not true. I had seen them on shelves, but hadn't really interacted with them before, and so I'm trying a couple of new authors. I'm not sure I like them yet, so I'm not going to say who they are. Let me look over here. I've got more comics and comics collections and new games and old games. Here's one of the Drawing from Within. This is a drawing book that got recommended. I have a book about single panel cartoons and the process of doing that, which is interesting. That just came out recently. I can show you the dust jacket. It's called Funny Stuff, and and that came out about a week or 10 days after I started thinking that I maybe would create an online webinar about making single panel cartoons, about improving your skill with single panel cartoons. So this book has been very interesting to me in that it touches on a lot of the subjects that I was toying with for my syllabus. And I may have found a good textbook to use. DC or Marvel, I have a bunch. So over here on my side, I've got a Doom Patrol. I've got 4 of the what do you call them? The big thick hardcovers, the omnibuses that they've been publishing that I bought over the last year. I think all of these have been bought in the last year. The Doom Patrol, John Byrne's Doom Patrol stories, Adam Warlock, the first of Jim Starlin, and earlier first introduction of Adam Warlock. Micronauts, the first volume of Micronauts, and I just bought a collection of Marvel's Godzilla. Go overlapping things again. Marvel had a 24-issue Godzilla comic in the 1980s, which was terrific. That I still have the originals of, and I've got they printed it in a black and white, what they call Essentials book, but they just recently released this hardcover, full color collection of all the Godzilla books. So I got that. I bought that for myself as a birthday present. Just looking around, I've got Cthulhu Awakens from Green Ronin over here. Talking about small indie stuff. Let me just grab this here. I've got a copy of Shadow Dark there, and someone was talking about this. It's called Haunted Almanac by Nate Tremay, whose big thing that I think most people know him for is a little quick game. He does a lot of little quick games. And it's called Tunnel Goons. Is the one I've seen a lot of people. I think he's got that open as a Creative Commons game, so people can adapt Tunnel Goons. But this is a book full of different games that he made, and I find that fascinating. So that's kind of the things that are on my book stand here at my desk. And of course, all the other books over here. The new book, Crack. Isn't that nice? You know what? I'm one of those people who really takes very good care of my books and the spines. And I've got books that are pretty old that still will crackle like that if you open them wide enough. I get a thrill every time. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. Thank you, Michael and Becky and Casey. Going to scroll over here. Chris and said Casey. Dale was here for a while. Yes, it's been a fun evening. I didn't know. When I tuned this in, I thought I might just be talking to myself for about 10 or 15 minutes and tuning out. So thank you for keeping me company and asking such interesting questions. I am happy to do this kind of thing more often. Probably not as part of this show, but I should probably schedule events like this more frequently to just hang out and chat. So next week we'll be back with Gwendolyn F.M. Kestrel, who's an editor and game designer that I worked with at Wizards and Beyond. As I say, she had something come up, an unexpected situation required her attention, and so she had to sadly bow out for tonight, but she'll be back next week. We talked about that, so it should be good. Tomorrow night, of course, I will be here for another episode of Random Encounters, the show where I do improv cartooning based on random encounter tables and input from the audience. So come on over on a Thursday night and join us there. I showed you the calendars. The calendars, as we talked about earlier, should be going to press soon. Until that time, for at least the next week, Kickstarter has a new thing where you can do late pledges. So even if you miss the Kickstarter, you can still get in. So if you have not ordered one of those calendars and you want one, or you've ordered one and you realize that you want to give one as a present, you still can get there. Go to the same URL we were using for the whole thing, newstandproject.com. That'll take you to the Kickstarter page, and look for the late pledge link, and you can still go in and order copies of the either the wall calendar or the desk calendar, or even just the electronic version. So go on and check it out. Again, thank you everyone for tuning in. I'm now gonna go have myself some dinner, and I will see you all next week. Take care. Thank you.